Good afternoon, everyone. We'll just wait for a few more seconds to get settled in, and it will be very informative, interactive, and any hard questions, by all means, Rosalind will be able to answer them for you. Any easy ones, I'll be more than happy to assist you um, with any inquiries that you might have. So I want to thank you all for attending today's webinar. So general housekeeping items. This is a recorded webinar. All participants will be receiving today's link from YouTube channel. Definitely encourage you to like and subscribe, and also the presentation as well. If you have any questions, I strongly encourage you to place them in the Q&A. Throughout the presentation, I will be able to ask those questions to Rosalind and enhance and interact with that particular point of the webinar. Also, I strongly encourage you to network, introduce yourself, what type of business, what are some strategies, some ideas, what have you been doing, not doing, to enhance your pricing models for your business. And definitely it's all about connectivity and also how we can assist you with your business needs. So a brief description of what is the Miami-Dade Business Navigator Program. It was funded through a cooperative agreement through the Small Business Administration. It was established in regards of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. It uses a community navigator approach to help you, the small business owners, in the economic recovery. The overall goal is simple. It's focused on businesses that are owned by veterans, women, as well as socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. Along with the Florida SBDC at FIU, we also have 4 different organizations, 6 different organizations, I'm sorry. We have Ascendis branches, the EDC of South Miami-Dade, Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, Los Preda, and SARPA Fire Procurement. All these 7 organizations are available to assist you at no cost if you're looking for marketing, access to capital, networking opportunities, how to do business with a municipality, and credit repair, business planning, all the different facets of what small business entails. We have a specialized spoke that will be able to guide you through that process. In addition, the Miami-Dade Business Navigator program is focused on that local community navigator approach in the 3 pillars: the consulting, the mentoring, and training. This program is for Miami-Dade County businesses, but don't worry if your business is located in Broward, Palm Beach, Monroe County. We'll be more than happy to assist you. If your business is located outside of the jurisdiction, don't worry. By all means, I will put my email address in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to connect you with the appropriate small business resource partner in your area. This is a good opportunity for you to connect with us. Visit our website at the miamidadebusinessnavigator.com of all of our upcoming events that we have. We're part of the Summer Small Business, so we're having a plethora of workshops and webinars to address your business needs. But also, once again, all our previous webinars are uploaded our YouTube channel as well. So definitely enhances the conversation, view our webinars, and then also meet with our business consultants as well. Also, like and subscribe, follow us on our social media channels as we have up-to-date information of our upcoming workshops and also business resources for you. So allow me to introduce you to our business consultant, Rosalind Rice, who will be presenting today's webinar. Thank you. And Rosalind, the floor is yours.
Yes. Hi, everyone. It is so nice to be with you on this July 5th. I hope you had a wonderful holiday. I feel that you are in the right place because now is the time to think about those strategies for the back half of the year. We've already completed the first part of 2023, if you can believe it or not. And so now is the time to really start thinking about how are you going to end this year strong? And so this is the perfect place to be to start thinking about those pricing models that will carry you through the end of 2023 and beyond. So when we think about price, it is a question that I get often in my consulting sessions. Many of us know that how we set the price can determine if we have profit in the business or if we don't have profit in the business. Most of us think about the 4 Ps of marketing because price is a part of that. You have first P of product, like what is it that you're selling? What is it that your service is? The next one is place. Where are you going to promote your product or service? Will it be e-commerce? So you're going to do it online? Will you show up at a farmer's market or a pop-up event? Will you do it face-to-face with someone? So that's the place. Then there is the promotion part of it. How are you going to let people know that you are in business? And then finally, the price. How much will you charge for your product or your service? And how is that going to impact your customers' view of your brand? So whether you have a product-based business where you're selling an actual tangible product or commodity, or whether you have a service-based business, you might be a coach or a consultant, maybe you're an attorney, or you might be a part of an ad agency and you're providing a marketing service. This session is for you. Again, it's one of the top questions. It's the reason why I reached out to Jesus about, can we talk about pricing? It's one of the top questions. I don't think I'm making enough profit. I don't think my price is high enough, or maybe my price is too low. Pricing will impact the success of your business. But I want to tell you that pricing is very tricky. So if in any way you feel that you are struggling, and I would love for you to put in the chat, are you a product-based business? Are you a service-based business? It is just tricky when you're trying to figure out the price that you want to charge. It is a decision that you're not just going to make once. As a business owner, you're going to constantly look at your pricing and start to understand, if I'm charging the right price, is it high enough? Is it low enough? So you're going to do this on repeat, which is a great reason that this will be recorded so you can constantly come back to it and understand what is going on. So you might be thinking, who am I? I like to tell you first what you can expect to get out of this session before I tell you who I am. I am Rosalind Rice, and my #1 mission is to keep profit in your business. I am here to support you and all of my colleagues at with the FIU Navigator program. I worked in retail for 25 years, and I would roll out strategies like this all the time. I feel like I can do it with my eyes closed. I work with some of the highest global brands like Michael Kors, Emporio Armani, and just working with those different brands, there's a lot that I've learned. And so I want to pass that along to you over my 25 years of being in retail at a corporate level. So I want to start by saying, again, this can be tricky. So don't give yourself grace, but it takes time to develop what the right pricing model will be. There are many changes that you're going to make to your pricing model. Again, not a one and done. So just know you're going to be doing this on repeat. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about, for the majority amount of the time, what are some very common pricing strategies and ways that you see that show up in the world in brands that you're very familiar with. We'll also talk about our pricing messaging, because it's not just about setting the price, but what is the message, the value that you're providing, and how will you communicate that to your consumers? You might be in the midst of increasing your prices, and how are you going to communicate that? We're going to talk about that today. And then just some final reminders. So retailers will use a variety of pricing strategies to attract customers and maximize their profits. For instance, if you walk into Publix, I'm a mom of a teenager, so I feel like I'm always walking into Publix. But if you walk into Publix or any grocery store, you're going to see a slew of different pricing strategies that they're going to use. One of the big ones people know in regards to Publix is BOGO, right? Buy one, get one free. Now, at the end of the day, that's just 50% off of a product. But the fact that they say buy one, get one free, psychologically, the consumer is thinking, oh my goodness, I get something free. And it increases their appetite to buy that product. Sometimes you'll see where it might be you get a certain percent off, or there's a certain dollar off, like a bottle of water might be $1 off of that item. So there's a bit of psychology that is used in setting prices. I want you to think about when you're in a store and you'll see someone that will set a price that will say $9.99 versus $10. Now, $9.99 immediately, anytime we see something with a 0.99 ending, we think economic, we think value, we think, oh, that is saving me money. And so you'll see a lot of retailers use that strategy. So instead of saying $10, they might go down to $9.99 or $9.97. Humans are creatures of emotion. So I know a lot of times we might think, man, there has to be some magical math behind this. No, it really is about understanding the psychology of how we interpret the pricing once we have it. We are emotional people. And when it comes to shopping, most of the time, we're not using the logical side of our brains. We are being fueled by emotion. So there are, like I said, many different varieties of pricing. You might see 40 off. This July, I was just telling Jesus that this time of the year, you're going to see a lot of sales because people are cleaning out their inventory to bring in the new fall merchandise, the holiday merchandise. So they're making sure that they're going deep and cheap on swimsuits and cover-ups and things of that nature, summer clothes, shorts, up to 75% off, so that they're able to bring in the coats and the boots and all the things that you need for the fall season. So the question that we really have to ask ourselves is not how much we want to charge, but how much is someone willing to pay for the item or the service that we are providing, right? How much someone is willing to pay rarely has anything to do with how much the actual item cost. So as a business owner, I want you to remain curious. Is my customer willing to pay whatever that amount is? I want you to think about Walmart and Nike. Walmart and Nike sells white t-shirts. And the perceived value of the white t-shirt will increase dramatically whenever the swoosh single brand, that check mark is called swoosh from Nike, is put on there. The moment that that swoosh icon is put on a shirt, a hat, a pair of tennis shoes, it increases the value. I want you to also think about when you're shopping in an outlet versus the actual retail store. It is a different pricing strategy that you're going to use. So at the end of the day, it comes down to what is your brand? What is the tone of your brand? And tomorrow there is a session all about branding. My colleague, Michelle, will be navigating and hosting that class, and it will be phenomenal. So you want to make sure that your price ties back to your brand. So let's start talking about some of the different pricing strategies that you can use. Cost-based pricing is what many entrepreneurs will use, especially if they are selling a product. This is a very, very common, I'm not going to say the most effective, but it is a very common way to price your product. So cost-based pricing is basically looking at your cost plus whatever markup it is that you want, and that is going to give you your end price. So when I say you're looking at your cost, you're going to look at your fixed costs, and this might be your utilities, this might be the rent for, let's say you're making an item and you're manufacturing it somewhere, your variable cost as well. So that is maybe your payroll, depending on, like if it's the peak season, you're going to have to spend more for payroll versus a season that is slower. So you want to look at all of your cost. And this is where sometimes we're not actually adding up all of our costs. We're missing a few pieces. When you were thinking about producing a product, I want you to consider you paying yourself is a part of your cost because that is labor. And if you're spending time doing whatever the product is or making the product, you need to factor that into the cost of the product. So for example, if you're selling lemonade, you want to think about the cost of the lemons, the sugar, if there's a special type of filtered water, as well as the price of the product. You don't want to forget the packaging that you're going to put whatever the product is. It might be a bag, it might have a sticker with your branding on it. All of that plays into the cost. But you also want to think about the person that is making and manufacturing the lemonade. Most likely, if you're a solopreneur, that might be you. You want to factor in your own payroll into the cost of that item. The most important factor in this cost-based pricing is making sure that all of the costs are accounted for. And there are many consultants at the FIU Navigator program that can help you with that. I want you to think about not only what the payroll is, what the raw materials are, but also the marketing, the advertising of that product that factors into the cost. So on average for a product, you might have a 50% markup, which basically means you're going to double the price of whatever it costs. So let's say that it costs me $2 to make that lemonade. I'm going to price it at $4. Now, that is on average a 50% markup for a product. If you're in an industry like electronics, you're going to have much tighter margins and your markup might only be like 35%. So really you need to do some research and understand what industry you're in and what the markup should be. This cost-based pricing provides great margins because you basically can set that margin or markup at whatever you want. If it is done effectively. But again, this is not my kind of go-to pricing model because it leaves out a lot. Cost-based pricing doesn't take into account the demand for your product. So imagine that with the heat alerts that we've been receiving in South Florida, and you're selling that lemonade on the beach, the demand for your product is going to be higher because people are hot, they're thirsty, they need something to drink. So the demand for your product is going to be higher. So your $4 that you might be charging just to get to that 50% markup might not be enough. You might have someone down the road that's charging $6 for a drink and you're charging $4. So cost-based pricing doesn't take into account demand or also the competition. I want you to think about whenever you go to any sporting event, what do they charge a lot on? Whatever drinks you're buying, it's going to be high. You go see a Dolphin game, a Marlins game, it's going to be much higher to buy that product simply because the demand is higher. I remember I used to travel so much, and as we were moving towards the Super Bowl being hosted in Miami, the price of drinks went up in airports. Why? They were getting ready to have high demand because of all the people that would be coming in for the Super Bowl. So I want you to think about, you could do cost-based pricing, but also consider what are the competition charging as well as the demand. Now, if you are a food, providing a food, there is a great website, recipal.com, RECIPAL.com, that will allow you to put in the different raw materials and be able to show what price you should charge to make whatever markup. It's automatically done for you. You just put in a few numbers. It also allows you the opportunity to say, hey, if you're advertising and you want to save like 15%, or if you're working with a distributor or a broker, it allows you to play along with those different variables. If you have a digital software program, like let's say Shopify, which is very popular, especially if you're selling e-commerce, you're selling online, they have pricing calculators, they have profit margin calculators that are there to assist you in setting your prices. So it just avoids you being able to do it manually. So that's the number one, cost-based pricing. The other one is competitive pricing. So this is where you are doing your research, you're looking to see what is my competition charging. And so you might decide that I am either going to price my product higher or lower. Now, if I price my product lower, I want you to think about like a Walmart versus a Whole Foods. Whenever you price it lower, this is great for people who are price sensitive, that depending on their demographics, again, it requires you to know about your target audience, but depending on the demographics, the income that your consumer will be having as discretionary income, and you know that they're price sensitive, you might decide, I want to price this a little bit lower. This, whenever we price it lower than the competition, shows someone, all right, there's economic value, it's accessible to more people, this allows you to sell a lot more units because you're pricing it at a lower price. Now, on the flip side of that, you might decide that I want to price it higher, that I am providing a premium product. I'm providing a luxury item. I want you to think about Starbucks versus Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts has America runs on Dunkin'. It's a very transactional type of pricing model. But then you have Starbucks that is more about the experience. Come in, we have free Wi-Fi, have a cup of coffee, meet with your friends. So again, depending on your brand identity, and again, there's a class tomorrow that talks about brand development, you will be able to decide, do I want to price higher or lower than the competition? This pricing model, competitive pricing, really works great when you are in a very saturated market. And for the most part, for most industries, South Florida is a very saturated market. But it requires you to do some research. You can look at someone's website, you can do social media, you can even make a phone call and find out what their pricing is. Do you have a question?
Yes, I have two
Yeah.
comments and a question.
Okay.
One of them, in terms of the cost-based pricing, another example is popcorns at the movie theaters.
Yes.
It's the yield and markup is astronomical. One cup of popcorn will be like 70
Absolutely.
cents, and it's charging you $8 per bag. So that's
Absolutely.
another example. And then
Mhm.
in terms of the cost-based pricing, obviously you have to find the Goldilocks pricing point, too low, too high, but at the same time, it's a value proposition. And
Exactly.
that's another opportunity for you how to stand out amongst the competitors. If you're
Absolutely.
pricing it lower, okay, but what is the wow factor?
Exactly. How are
So,
you
so
different?
and
Mhm.
then last but not least, Rosalind, the actual website of the link of that tool for the cost-based pricing,
Yeah.
um, can you email it to me afterwards so like that I could share it to everyone else as well?
Yeah, that one the recipal.com is specifically for food vendors. But yes, I can email you that
Perfect.
afterwards.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
And I just have one more question.
Yeah.
What is a value proposition example? If you could elaborate a little bit more on value
You know what?
proposition.
That's a great question. You got to stay tuned because I'm going to talk about
There we
all
go.
about the value proposition. So stay tuned. I'm going to use Apple as an example. So stay tuned.
Okay. All right.
All
There
right.
you go.
So the third type of pricing model is price skimming. And this is where such a great question. Let me right into this. Apple will use this. So price skimming is where there is this scarcity. So you will start high and over time, you're going to drop your price. So think about when Apple in September will have their new iPhone and people are waiting out in lines, they're going to price that extremely high just because they can. It's a premium product. Another person who uses price skimming, think about when electric vehicles came into the marketplace. Tesla was one that priced their product extremely high, and then over time, as more car manufacturers has entered the EV market, the price has come down a little bit. So I want you to think about when microwaves came into the marketplace, even cell phones, price it high, and then over time you will price it low. This pricing model, you're setting an initial high price for something that is unique, maybe has never been in the industry or in the marketplace. You're really trying to target that early adopter who might be an early adopter of technology. And this requires that you focus on the benefits of whatever the product is. So if this is you, your unique value proposition is what makes this completely different. Like, why is it a premium product? Why would I have an appetite to even adopt this technology early in my business? So this allows you to really, again, you have to really have a premium type of product or something that is so unique, like electric vehicles, to be able to price it high and then low. Many customers are not receptive to this type of pricing. I also want you to introduce you to penetration pricing. Now, this is where you will enter the marketplace with a very, very low price. You provide a special offer. This is something that you're going to use to quickly grab the attention of potential clients. what happens here, a lot of times this is not used a lot by small business owners because it will allow you have to sacrifice a little bit of your profitability to be able to kind of offer that special offer. But that's what penetration pricing does. It draws attention to your business really quickly, and it allows you to pick up more market share. So imagine if you're at the top of your sales funnel and you're in the awareness part, it allows people to see your business larger. You're just casting this wide net out with this incredibly low price that it almost is like too hard to resist. So you might be thinking, who actually uses this type of pricing model? Cable companies. Cable companies will lure you in with providing a special offer. And then over time, you're going to go back once that trial period is over to your higher priced product. It requires a lot of advertising. It requires a lot of engagement for you to be able to convert people into staying loyal customers. When you think about cable companies, they want to cannibalize on the other cable company. I remember when Netflix first came into the marketplace, this was a strategy that they used. They priced it extremely low until they kind of revolutionized what the streaming market was. And now there's so many different streaming platforms, but this was something that Netflix used to cannibalize some of that market share from cable companies. So retailers will use this with special offers, coupons, discounts, because they want to either enter in a market very fast, grab attention, and absorb a lot of new clients. Now, what I will tell you, this is a very kind of risky pricing, especially as a small business owner, because once that pricing is over, that special offer, that trial period, people may or may not stay loyal to your brand. So it really depends on the type of messaging that you're going to speak to them over that trial period. So you really have to be very unique in being able to talk about how you will continue to have this value, even though they're going to be paying a higher price. So again, penetration pricing, you're setting a relatively low price initially to gain larger market share. All right. The next one is value-based pricing. And I got to tell you, this is one pricing model that I love. It is cost plus markup. Now, that's cost-based pricing, but when you think about the perceived value, that's going to equal your price. So this really answers the question of how much is someone willing to pay for your product? And I think it's important that research work with a consultant here at FIU Navigator program to really understand what is the price that someone is able to pay for your product. This is where you're going to focus on the value that you're going to that differentiates you from another brand. So you're going to set price based on how much the customer perceives your product to be worth. It requires you to have really factual information. Obviously, there's a little bit of competition pricing and analysis that factors in here, but because pricing can be so emotional, you're going to focus on what is the value, not what it is that you're providing, but what is the value of it. So here's an example. So like, hey, Jesus, you asked that question, that someone had that question, what is your unique value proposition? Imagine that I'm a tennis instructor and I can just say, hey, I have these tennis classes, right? That's what I do. As a potential client, I don't care anything about what you do. How does it serve me and how does it solve my problem? So I might say, hey, I have this program that's one going to get your kids off of your cell phone. For many parents, they want to find a way to get their kids off of their cell phones. And another value proposition is, I have something that I offer you that you will be away from your kids while they are participating in physical activity. I want to focus on the value that it provides versus what it is that I do. So this is where you have to communicate that value before you ever talk about price with this type of pricing model. You want to talk about the value that you're providing. You want to be able to kind of place a financial value on that. This is mostly an ideal strategy, especially if you have a service-based business, if you're a coach or a consultant or an attorney. I think about in my previous life in retail, I remember when smartwatches hit the market. Do you remember Fitbit? Like, you can just say, yeah, I might be dating myself, but I remember when Fitbit hit the market, and the company that I was working for came out with their own version of a smartwatch. Now, here in the US, we know that Apple Watches really dominates this market. Outside of the US, Samsung, Google dominates Android users. But in the US, Apple Watch really dominates in regards to the smartwatch industry. And at the time, there was huge value. There was a huge price, but there was huge value. So as a divisional manager, I spent a lot of time educating consumers on what is this thing that people are putting on their wrist. We would talk about the value of being able to see your steps, the value of being able to take a phone call, which was revolutionary at that time because there was nothing on the market that was providing that value to consumers. It allowed you to track your activity levels. It allowed you to see your notifications. So if you're sitting and getting your hair washed, you were able to see who was calling you and also who was sending you a text message. It allowed you to be able to see how much sleep that you were getting every night. So even though the price of the item was expensive, we focused on not just the features of the watch, but what were the benefits and how did that play into the value and solving problems for our potential target audience. This requires a lot of consistent messaging. It requires you to be able to say, this isn't what I do, but this is what I provide in regards to value. And we have many consultants that can really help you craft that message. This type of pricing helps build loyalty because you're solving their problem. And once you learn how to solve someone's problem, it really isn't any price that you put out there that someone isn't willing to pay because, again, you're solving their problem. To implement this type of pricing, you want to make sure that you understand your customers' fears, their goals, and their dreams. What are they willing to pay? And you can do this through your promotional campaigns, your social media messaging. You want to tell them, why am I justifying having kind of this higher priced? But again, it's all about the perceived value. The next one is bundle pricing. I want you to think about when you see that there are selling 2 or more complementary products. So we just kind of came off of Father's Day, and there are so many different fragrance vendors that will bundle products together to be able to provide more value. So they will provide you the perfume, the fragrance, along with sometimes the deodorant, the lotion, the aftershave. They do that all for bundle pricing because they know that the market is going to be flooded with a lot of different consumers. They want to find that way that they differentiate themselves. Bundle pricing is a great way to lure consumers, especially during gift giving season. So think about your Valentine's Day. I want you to think about Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, Hanukkah, all of those, gift giving seasons. If you're in skincare, you might think about bundling the shampoo and conditioner together. If you are selling online, an online course, you want to provide the online course plus the book. Bundle those 2 together, and it provides greater value for the consumer. The next one is anchor pricing, and this one is used in 2 different ways. So anchor pricing really is psychology-based pricing. What this allows you to do, and if you're a service-based business, this is a great one to use. I use it a lot with my clients. Think about having pricing tiers. Why? Humans in general want to compare. We want to compare ourselves to others. We want to compare prices. Obviously, with our cell phones, we are able to just be able to go online and comparative shop. Well, think about being able to allow that within your own kind of ecosystem, within your own business. So when we see this pricing option, the higher price becomes an anchor in our mind. And every other price that we see, we're going to compare to that initial price that we saw. So I want you to think about, if you are looking for a car, many times you'll see the MSRP. And that car salesman is going to work down from that MSRP price, because anything below that is thinking you're starting to register value in the mind of the consumer. But this is a great, when you have these pricing tiers, this anchor pricing, you provide options where your potential client is able to compare pricing. So I think about this as a good, better, best. So basic, essentials, professional, or you might say basic, essentials, and premium. As you go to each additional tier, you're going to add in more value for that consumer. This is really a great strategy if you have a premium offer. So you might add an additional hour of coaching. You might add that you're going to actually do the service versus just consulting. You're going to actually do the service for them. So you kind of have this good, better, best strategy. The other way anchor pricing is used, or it's also known as reference pricing, it is where you will see the regular price and then you'll see the sales price and then how much you're saving. So I want you to think about those as seen on TV. This is a surefire strategy that they use. So they will say, and you get all this for $150. But today, if you call within 24 hours, it'll be $19.99, right? Have you ever heard that? They're using anchor pricing because $150 becomes that anchor price. And based on your mind, you're going to compare every price to that $150. So the moment that they say $19.99, it's like, oh my gosh, that's such an incredible value. And then they add in that sense of urgency by saying, but you got to call within the next 24 hours. If you've ever bought something and thought, oh my gosh, I better take advantage of this while it lasts, I don't want to say you've been a victim of anchor pricing, but anchor pricing was definitely used. You will often see this in jewelry where you will have this kind of high-low pricing where they put the regular price, they cross it out, and then they show you what the value is. Okay.
And Rosalind, if I
Yeah.
could make, this is a good example, like case in point, I experienced the anchor pricing for my honeymoon. I went to
Oh,
a Sandals resort. So they gave like all these extravagant amenities and 65% off, one free night.
yep.
And the pricing was $17,000. So like, wow, there's a wow factor for 12 days.
Yeah.
But ideally, it's the trigger point. What can I do to save up a little bit more money and
Mhm.
have different alternatives? So yes, this is a good incentive how to
Exactly.
as a good strategy. I got by.
Yes, it's a great strategy. And you can really play around with it. Like one month, you might decide, I'm just going to say, hey, the price is $100. And then the next month, you always want to evaluate, is my pricing working or not working? The next month, you might decide, hey, I'm setting the price at $200, but I'm going to offer it at 50% off. Now, the price is still $100, but the way that you're sending that message is different. So every strategy that you choose in regards to your pricing, and this is just tapping the surface. We don't have time to go into all of the different pricing models. I just wanted to show you ones that are very familiar to you as a small business owner. But it must be chosen carefully. And I, as well as other consultants, can help you choose what best strategy you should use within your business, because you don't want to deteriorate the value of your brand. So if you're providing a premium product and you're constantly pricing at, 99-cent ending, you're going to, over time, devalue the equity of your brand. So you want to be very attuned into how your pricing is playing with your consumers. Again, I know I've talked a lot about products, but also when you think about pricing for services, you think about an attorney. Attorney might provide a flat fee. They might say, hey, it's a retainer, you got to pay X amount, and they might have billable hours. So there's always different ways for you to price. I remember in the beginning as a consultant, I was like, how much do I charge? How much do I charge in regards to my hourly impact? Which I would say, if you're a consultant coach, you don't want to charge hourly and book time with me, I can just tell you the reasons why, but you don't want to always just choose an hour rate because you can really kind of forego some of the money that you can make when you do that. Think about providing a package and build into that your hourly pricing. And if you're not sure on how to set an hourly pricing, you want to think about your experience. Someone who's been 20 years in an industry is obviously going to charge more than someone who is new or just starting out. You also want to think about as a consultant, a speaker, a coach, what is your total time? Not just when you're delivering the product, but also how much time is it taking you to prep? How much time is it taking you to research? If you are thinking about pricing, how much is it costing just for you to be able to go and deliver that? How much gas, how much tolls, how much commuting time? You want to factor all of that into your pricing. So let's talk about pricing messaging. It's important for you to understand your target audience, right? Understand the demographics, what the average income is, who they are, what are they willing to pay, what are some of their fears, some of their goals. Remember, test different pricing strategies. There is a lot of psychology that plays into the price. Customers rarely know anything about what it costs you to be able to make a product or a service for them. They just want to know that they are getting something that is of value, something that is solving a problem for them. The message that you choose needs to go along with the tone of your brand. You can't be premium and economical all at the same time. So when it comes to the unique value proposition, I remember when Apple came out with their iPod, right? They could have easily said, oh, we have this item that has all these gigabytes and it's an MP3. They didn't go into all of that technical jargon. What they said is, we have 1,000, you have the ability to have 1,000 songs in your pocket. Now, at that time, if you were the person that was with a boombox and you were sitting waiting for a song to come on the radio for you to make your mixtape, and I know I'm dating myself because I am such a 90s baby, this really spoke to you. This solved your problem. You were able now to have 1,000 songs in your pocket versus waiting to be able to record a song that just might come on the radio. So always think about benefits versus the features. The feature was there's this high gigabyte MP3, but that's not what they sold. They sold value. They sold, you got 1,000 songs in your pocket. If you're Dyson, no one wants to buy a vacuum cleaner. They want to buy the value of having a clean floor. And so it's important that you bring that value, and also the social proof. Whenever you're delivering a message and communicating that to your consumer, provide that social proof. This is where Google reviews, surveys, testimonials come into play. If you start having high demand for your product, you're able to increase the price of it. I want you to think about all these different pricing factors. Convenience. If you're a mobile hairdresser versus having your location, you're going to charge more because you're providing convenience of going where your consumer is versus them coming to you. Think about delivery and speed. Remember, think about FedEx. They're going to charge you more money to get something to someone the next day versus waiting 2 or 3 days. So whenever you're dealing in delivery and speed, you're going to charge more for that service. If you're providing free returns, there's some costs that you're going to be absorbing for them to give, ship back, all those shipping fees. But that becomes a way that you can increase your price if you say, hey, free returns. It's an added value. So if you're someone who's about to, increase your prices, maybe for the back half of the year, you realize, man, I'm just not charging enough. Before you do that, let's communicate a message together, but maybe communicate to your consumers, why are the prices going up? Are your raw materials going up? Are your labor costs going up? Are your delivery fees? Allow your consumers to understand why all of a sudden your prices are going up versus just putting it out there that this is a new price. So here are some final reminders as we wrap up, and we'll do a few more question and answer. There are many different pricing strategy. Over time, your pricing strategy will evolve. You really need to analyze, do something for a month or two and see how it's working. Ask your consumers. If you say, hey, why didn't you want to buy that? And they say, oh my gosh, the price is too high. Think about that. Not for everyone, but if you start to hear a pattern of like, oh, that price is too high, start reevaluating what your price is. Consider promotional pricing. Promotional pricing is where you break price. You want to do that temporarily. Think about Black Friday. I've already start planting the seeds of Black Friday pricing with my clients, because it's important to think about what is the special offer that I'm going to have in Black Friday when there's so many consumers are flooding the market. I will tell you next week, we're coming up on Amazon Prime Days. Why do they do that? They're breaking price on the majority of the items that are on their website to generate more revenue as they move into the back half of the year. And other retailers now have these kind of Prime Days to match the competition of Amazon. You want to consider all your costs. Don't make the mistake of not factoring yourself and paying yourself for the labor. We're not in business to just, that would be like a nonprofit where we're providing a service at a very economical price. But you want to consider all the costs, your fixed costs, your payroll costs, your rent, your utilities, your gas, your tolls, your time, your raw materials. A consultant can help you with that. And then just adapt, personalize that communication, adapt it. You can say the same message 15 different ways and it sounds completely different. So work with a consultant to really be able to craft an effective message to say what your value is. And the last kind of disclaimer, you do not want to participate in price discrimination where you're charging different demographics of people, different prices, because there's all type of laws around that. When you think about hurricane season, price gouging, you want to stay far away from that. So I hope that this session has been very helpful just to start you thinking in the right direction of all the many different types of pricing. But I'm going to have Jesus come back on and let me know, are there any other questions? Please let me know. Yes, you can scan this code and set up time for no cost to you, as we talked about earlier, for you to be able to get consulting, to really be able to start to understand the complexity that is pricing at times.
Okay. Rosalind, I do have a few questions for you.
Okay.
Okay. Which strategy will work for a used car dealership?
Oh, a car dealership will use a lot of different strategies, and it really depends on the time of the month, right? Are they trying to reach a quota? The last few days of the month is kind of the best time. And so they're going to be very economical and really present maybe a lower price versus like a different time of the month. It also depends on if they're trying to unload a lot of inventory. September is when you start to see new models come onto lots. And so they're trying to get rid of the old. So they're going to use a variety of different strategies in regards to how they sell that car. They have a lot of tricks up their sleeve in regards to their pricing strategy. I would say for you as a consumer, you want to make sure that you are doing your research and understanding what the cost is for that individual car.
And is it okay that your product is not for everyone?
Yes, your product is not for everyone. That's a fact. That is not a myth. Your product is not for everyone. Everyone is not your potential client. So you really need to understand who is your target audience. Who are you really trying to reach? If you are a wellness consultant or a skincare consultant or a skincare expert, it might be you're 90% women and you want to focus your messaging on that demographic.
Okay. And then do you have any pricing method for construction company?
Oh, I guess the question would be, what are you pricing? Are you pricing the total price? Are you pricing one specific service? Like, what are you pricing?
Yeah, and on top of that, we do have a colleague of ours that he does in the construction for government contracting,
Perfect.
the price and the cost estimation as well.
Yes,
So that will be a best suited on regards of that inquiry. So I will
yes.
put my email in the chat. So like that you could personally email me and I could do the virtual introduction without any problems whatsoever. And then can you have different pricing strategies for each product in case you have multiple products in your line?
Absolutely. Absolutely, you can. And you can decide when you break price. Maybe you want to come in with an introductory price to let people know, hey, I have this new product. And then you're going to increase that price over time. You might, like I said, say, hey, the price today is $100. And then the next the next product you might be saying, all right, it's $200 with 50% off. So yeah, you can have, different pricing for your products. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. What industries do you see price skimming used in allowing?
So price skimming is, I would say, where there is like a premium product. I would see price skimming used. But I would like to know why that person is asking that question. Like, what's the motive behind asking that question?
If you have one price for 1 month and a higher one the next month, will your customer think you're being deceptive with your pricing?
No, again, it's all about communicating the value. If you are communicating value, like, and what I say is like, if the regular price isn't changing and you're just changing the sale price, you're going to communicate the value. Maybe there is a holiday that you think about mattresses, they go on sale for Labor Day and Memorial Day and all of these federal holidays that we have. So as long as you're communicating the value or why you want them to buy now, you're not going to run into problems. But I really think you want to seek wise counsel, and you can do that, scan that QR code so that you can be set up with a consultant to make sure that you're understanding what pricing you want to use.
Okay. And then this one is in the food related business. With me, I'm
Yeah.
adding a free dessert to all my dinner sales as a teaser. Is that acceptable in pricing?
What? Say that again.
With me, I'm adding a free dessert
Yeah.
to all my dinner sales as a teaser. Is that acceptable in pricing?
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, it's a great value, right? Like that it's almost like a bundle pricing. You get dinner plus dessert. I think about when you go into restaurants. I was just at a restaurant when I was in Dallas last week, and they had a prefix menu where for one price, you got three different parts of that meal. You got the salad, the entree, and the dessert. So absolutely go for it. What great value. Like, I want to know what that restaurant is. I can come get
Yeah.
that for dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 So I'm in the food and beverages. I was wondering if I have seasonal products that will make sense.
Yes, I love that. That is such a great question. If you have seasonal product, absolutely, because whatever is in season, you want to highlight that, right? So we just kind of came out of mango season. So on a lot of different menus, you saw a lot of people put mango dishes, mango salsas, mango something on their menus because that is an item that is very plentiful. Now, normally, if it's a seasonal product in regards to food, you might be charging a little bit less because there might be a lot of it, or it depends on, like, if it's heirloom tomatoes, which is a very high premium product, you might not be. So it just depends on if it's something that's very plentiful and you're needing to, kind of get rid of it, or it's something that is premium, like an heirloom tomato that takes years and years to grow, and you're now have it on your menu. Obviously, you're going to charge more money for that.
And also speaking of the conversation of enhancing the experience, especially in the food and beverage industry, I
Yeah.
have to look up a YouTube clip that I found that could definitely enhance that customer experience based on the initial in the initial concept in terms of, try our products and understanding the consumer behavior of enhancing that experience
Yeah.
and getting them as a repeat customer by delivering that customer experience with the pricing models. So don't quote me. I have to do some homework on my side, but definitely I'll touch base with Rosalind with the clip so that we'll be able to share it at the end of today's presentation.
Yeah.
So I have additional ones right here, Rosalind.
Okay.
The car dealership question was awesome. I bought a 2023 car last week on June 30th. I paid an unbelievable low price. But then on July 1st, all models increased 10,000. Dealerships are definitely stressed to meet their monthly quota.
Yep.
So buying a car on the last day of the month is a great strategy.
It is. I use it every time I buy a car. Yeah.
Yep. And then I have a 360 photo booth business. Any tips for me?
Yeah.
I do have one suggestion before the actual tips are being revealed. Register to meet with our consultants, and they'll be able to give you additional tips. Thinking outside the box, throwing spaghetti to a ball, but let's see what kind of spaghetti actually does stick to the wall. So, Rosalind, how about you? Any
Yeah.
tips?
So that is a service that you're providing 360. There is a lot of labor intensity that goes into that when you're setting it up, the preparation, the consulting that you might have with your prospective client. You want to make sure that you're factoring all of that in there, the amount of time that you're going to be there, the breakdown, the setup, all of that needs to factor into your price. And you want to be very strategic there and be able to communicate that, because you're bringing the party, you're bringing the fun, people are dancing around. And so normally this type of client is not as price resistant, because maybe it's a graduation or a wedding and there's all this fun energy and they're already paying a lot of money. But there's a lot you should factor in. Don't forget about how much it's going to take you to deliver that product, the breakdown, and the setup as well.
I am in the hand making. I hand make my products. What can I use to use my pricing?
Oh, I love that. Definitely scan the QR code, because you and I should talk. I loved it working with artisans. When you think about people who are like showing up their products on Etsy, there's a lot that goes into it. You need to factor in your labor cost because of the amount of time that it is taking you to price that, the amount of time it's taking you to make that product. Over time, you might get more efficient because obviously there's a learning curve, especially if you're just entering into this market. But I really want you to sit down and think about, one, what are the raw materials costing you? And then how much time it's taking you to actually make each individual product. And you're going to start pricing from there.
And coincidentally, she actually has the appointment with you and she's so excited. So
Oh,
there you go.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yay.
So right here's a true testament of the method of the madness.
Yeah.
Also, yes, there is value in creating memories. The photo booth is definitely a plus as a
Yeah.
comment. And then the pricing for government food services in Ocones or Cones locations using SCA rates with per diem.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that. Say that again.
Pricing for government food services in the Ocones, Conus locations using SCA rates with per diem. I would assume, once again, I could be completely wrong. This could be something within the realm of government contracting.
Yes.
So our government contracting consultants, they can assist you with that inquiry.
Yes. Scan the QR code for sure.
Mhm.
And listen, I know when I'm not in my lane, that's not my lane. But we have many consultants on our team that can help you for that
Yep.
question.
And
Yeah.
then okay, how can I help? How can I find help to gain more patients as I am part of the healthcare industry?
Oh, to gain more patients. Scan the QR code, because we need to talk about what you're already doing, ways to expand that. Are you trying to tap into a different market? There's a lot of different factors there. So it's kind of hard to answer that question, just not knowing a lot about your business. So scan the QR code and let's chat offline on that one.
Yep. And Sarah, I owe you an email. Okay.
Okay.
And then I just have one last question here. The
Okay.
best pricing model for commercial property management.
Mm, that's a good question. I
I
think I think you have to do some market value assessment of the actual property and what is happening in that marketplace. I think you have to start there in regards, not necessarily that you're using a pricing strategy, but definitely what's the market value of what you're trying to sell, the commercial property that you're selling.
and
What do you
then
think, Jesus?
yeah, it's all about what's going on in the area.
Yeah,
Like if that area is booming, what's the
yeah,
demographics? What's going on? Like if it's not accessible or there's no restaurants,
yeah.
walking friendly, people friendly environments, what's the overall landscape? For my handmade items, there are many pieces to make the product. However, I was told that I just need to record the purchase price, labor, and sales price.
You mean the purchase of the raw materials?
I would assume so.
But again, depending on the product that you're making, you need to consider value-based pricing, because what is the value that someone's going to put on that item that you're making? So if you're making this incredible diaper bag that a mother has all this additional, functionality, she might pay higher for that product. So it goes, what you're talking about is cost-based pricing, but I would say consider and explore value-based pricing in regards, especially as an artisan.
Yes, it's a specific way to keep track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
handmade right there increases value, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, and I got another comment for you. Miss Rice is amazing. Her commitment to helping our small
Oh,
businesses is so authentic. I love her.
oh,
Close quote. So there you go. There you go.
who was that? Who said that?
Well, we can't tell you. We can't tell you. It's a surprise.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
love it. Thank you.
Yep.
Whoever you are, thank you so
Yep.
much.
But definitely, like, if there's any particular questions, don't hesitate. Shoot us an email. Shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to assist you. But definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at our next webinar, as carrying on the conversation. But
Yes.
definitely, anything that we can to assist you, don't hesitate. We're family. We're looking forward to seeing you at the next webinars, consulting sessions, anything to enhance your business needs. We're an email, phone call, and event away. So thank you for your attendance and participation today, and I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day.
Bye, everyone.